Welcome, this is another IXL support video. We're going to be looking at cluster Y, the linear equations cluster, and specifically we're going to be looking at Y.5, the assignment called graph a line using slope. As that first problem loads, I'm going to make the whiteboard with a few notes a little bit larger just to talk about them. Here, we're going to still be talking about linear equations. We're going to be really focused on kind of this idea of slope and y-intercepts and how we can use slope really to create graphs. So for this assignment, they're going to tell us for our line the slope, what's really the m in the y equals mx plus b equations. And it's important to understand that slope describes our rate of change, or how much the y is going to change by every time the x grows by 1. And as you recall from our other assignments, slope can really be defined on a graph as rise over run, because the y-axis runs vertical, up and down, and the x-axis runs sideways. So if y rises up and down, we use rise to describe the y change, and run refers to the side movement, which is our x change. I'm going to make the whiteboard a little smaller. We see this large graph here. I'm going to have to zoom out just a bit. One more. And they've asked us to graph the line that has a slope of 1/4 and includes the point 0, 0. And it says click to select points on the graph. So for this assignment, they're always going to give you a starting point. In this case, the original point, it starts out at 0 and 0, the origin. So I'm going to click a point there. And it also has a slope, the big thing I might want to be focusing on. It has a slope of 1/4, what I'm highlighting up there. So if it has a slope of 1/4, let me get my marker tool out. That means that from wherever our starting point is, this graph is going to climb up by 1 unit each time it moves right by 4 units. Oh, that didn't load right. Let's see if it loads this time. There we go. So from this origin, it's going to have to climb up by 1, and it's going to have to go right by 4 units. That's really what a slope of 1/4 means. So I'm going to click the next point right here, after it went up by 1 and right by 4. And now I've graphed a line with the slope of 1/4 that includes the point 0, 0. For our next example, they ask us to graph a line that has a slope of 3, or 3 over 1, and it also includes the point 1 and 4. So recall that the first values, that 1 represents my x and the 4 represents my y value. So I'm going to first graph that 1 for x, that 4 for y. Here's 1 for x, go up 4. This point right here where my mouse currently is the point 1 and 4. And I also need to use a slope of 3. I could consider that slope of 3 as a fraction to really be 3 over 1, meaning I'm going to have to climb up by 3 units from this point, not the origin. I need to start at my 1, 4 point, and then the slope dictates it will go up by 3 units. Y will gain 3 every time the x gains 1 unit. So I'll go up by 3 and right by 1. I'll click a dot there. Now we've graphed the linear relationship that has a slope of 3, up by 3, right by 1, up by 3, right by 1, and also goes through the point 1 and 4 right here. So pretty straightforward assignment. You're going to always, I think, the most straightforward way to handle this, you're going to go ahead and graph the original point they give you. So in this case, they say I'm going to start out with this point 0 for x and 9 for y. It's really my y-intercept, so I'll click that point there. And then the slope is 1 over 9. That slope of 1 over 9 means it's going to gain 1 unit. I start at that 0, 9 point and go up by 1. Y will gain 1. But it's going to take 9 x's, or I'm going to need to move right by 9 units just to get 1 more y unit here. So slope of up 1, right by 9, and starts at the correct y-intercept. So the rest of this assignment stays largely the same. They're going to give you a point and the slope, and you use that slope to graph the rest of the line. Here, our original point is 0 and 1. It's really the y-intercept, and our slope is 4, so that means we go up by 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and right by 1. Now we have a graph that goes to the point 0 and 1 and has a slope of 4. Graph a line that has a slope of 8 and includes the point 0 and 1. So I'm again going to graph my y-intercept. Wow, they're making this easy. Same y-intercept as before. And they give us a slope of 8, meaning I'll climb up by 8, go from 1 all the way to 9, every time I go right by 1 unit. So here's a gain of 8 Y's, and I move right by 1 to represent the X gaining 1 unit. I'm not going to continue showing these because I think the rest of this IXL assignment follows a similar pattern, and I think you all are in very good shape to do the rest of this on your own. I'd encourage you to keep reading the hints if you miss any of them, and definitely feel free to send me an email if you want some quick help on Zoom. Thank you, keep up the great work, and I appreciate you watching to the end of the video.